Greetings everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm your host Captain Ryan. Today's YouTube video comes from subscriber Evren. And Evren is not in his tier 10 Minotaur, but is in fact in his tier 10 US cruiser, the Des Moines. And it's domination match mode on the trap map here in World of Warships. As the battle gets underway, Evren and a good chunk of his team are performing the standard action that the team, which spawns on this side of the map, usually does, and that is head towards the A cap point. But you'll notice that his team also has a fair concentration of their fleet up towards the C cap point, and at least a few of them are headed up there as well. Of course, the enemy team already in the process of capping C, partly because they tend to spawn very close to that location, and it's very easy for them to get in there, assuming, of course, they even want to push up and go for it. But it's alright, as Evren's team is in the process of capping B, and they do have somebody at the C cap point who is contesting, and that's a friendly destroyer. Of course, friendly destroyer at the B cap point is being contested by what is likely one of the enemy destroyers. The battle itself is actually a reasonable battle for a Des Moines captain because there are a good number of destroyers in here, so you've got that radar ability. You can pop it and spot them, but it's not necessarily a skill or an ability that you want to use right away in this game, partly because you haven't pushed up enough, and partly because your radar is going to be kind of useless when dealing with a full-strength destroyer. Yes, you can hit him, and yes, you can probably make him run, but the radar is not going to last long enough for your guns to reload and kill him, unless, of course, you detonate him. Speaking of guns on the Des Moines, of course, the Des Moines has excellent rate of fire at a 6-second reload on these 8-inch guns. The only other ship that comes close to it is the Hindenburg, and I think that's only got like a 9-second or a 10-second reload on its 8-inch guns. So, the Des Moines is excellent at killing destroyers, but again, remember, these are 8-inch guns, which means they have a pretty good chance for fire, and you can already see that he's managed to set a few fires on a few different ships. And one fire, which I believe was set on the Kutuzov, that was back behind the B cap point, is still burning, and that Kutuzov is probably so angry right now. But the 8-inch armor piercing is also heavy 8-inch American armor piercing, so that is a very heavy shell and is actually quite good at penetrating the broadsides of battleships, as well as the broadsides of cruisers who opt to get a little too close to you. Now, the Des Moines also has the other advantage of being similar to the Cleveland and the Atlanta in the respect that the gun arcs are excellent. So you can see here, he's just parked behind this island, and he's completely hidden from view because he's back here. So he's not going to be detected. The enemy team knows there's something back here firing, but for the most part, there's nothing that they can do about him, and his guns are effectively clearing that island. Now, somebody who's very smart about it can drop shots onto him, and he does manage to do that. Gets hit just slightly, but doesn't get set on fire and doesn't cause any problems for him. That Tirpitz up there is in a world of hurt. He's actually on fire in 2 different places, and he's got torpedoes headed his direction, so that's going to really put a damper on his day. Evren's team manages to secure the A cap point. They lose a destroyer, but the enemy team also loses a destroyer, and because of this, that's going to give his team an advantage. The enemy team finally does secure the B cap point, but not before losing that battleship and dropping them even lower in points. That means that Evren's team is now almost double on the points, almost 200 points more than the enemy. So they're going to have to work a little bit harder to make up that difference now that his team has managed to capture the B cap point. That means that his team is going to gain points twice as fast as the enemy team, with the enemy team being down on ships. That's going to cause some significant problems for them. But you notice that the enemy team is playing very, very passively in this situation. they're kind of hold back and they're not pushing aggressively. They're not paying attention to the mini-map around them and formulating a plan of striking his team where they are weakest. Now Everin pushes up towards this smoke screen here. He pops his radar, kind of trying to hope to catch this destroyer out in the open, preferably in his smoke screen, trying to hide from the enemy, but that's not the case. Very smart destroyer captain. He popped his smoke screen, he turned hard and away, and effectively used that smoke screen as an artificial island to break line of sight, to break contact, and get the hell out of there. But of course, he finds himself way too close to friendly destroyer up there that just rips into him and lets him have it. That friendly destroyer, though, of course, being detected as a result of engaging that enemy destroyer, gets punished for it. He's very, very low health, and he gets taken out of the game. The enemy team is down to just 2 destroyers. Everin's team is down to just 2 destroyers as well, but his team has lost 3 destroyers total. So his team did have a destroyer advantage, and there you can see the friendly Benson up there, very low health. He probably won't survive this battle, but hey, you never know. I've survived battles on less in similar situations. The Des Moines has an excellent concealment rating with Concealment Expert, with the Concealment module, and of course with Camouflage, dropping that detectability range quite far down. It actually makes it quite useful with the radar consumable, because your radar consumable has got about 9.6 kilometers, so there's really only about 1 kilometer where you can be detected, but where your radar is ineffective, which makes it pretty good for you because you basically know what's detecting you in this situation. You effectively know that whatever's seeing you is probably and in fact a destroyer, and that means that you can pop your radar and give them a surprise dose of butt sex if they're not immediately running away. Enemy Kutuzov up there popping his smoke screen, dropping into it. Now, he is broadside onto Everin here, and I would have actually swapped over to the armor piercing to make that shot, because he probably could have landed some nice fat citadels on him and caused some significant problems to that Kutuzov. Again, same way with this cruiser up here as well. You are effectively broadside on to him, but he's also broadside onto you, and that's a significant problem against the American 8-inch shells. Enemy destroyer here in the B cap point. Everin's got his radar up. He pops it. That destroyer ends up just outside there, and there's a lot of high explosive spam going on here. I mean, seriously, these cruisers just firing HE at each other. Really kind of annoying. Although, given the hard maneuvering, it does make sense to some respect. Again, another example of switching over to the armor piercing, a good time to do that right now, as that enemy Zhao is also turning broadside on and in prime position. But of course, the chance for fires really is what makes the 8-inch guns here on the Des Moines so good. It's kind of got that Russian bias chance for fires. It just sets so many of them all the time. So when you're fighting against enemy battleships, you can really just burn them down, especially if they're bow onto you and at an angle. The enemy team has managed to pull it back, and they've taken the lead in ships. So they've only lost 3 ships. Everin's team has actually lost 5 now. They've lost 4 of their destroyers and a cruiser, and that's a serious concern, because the team that gets that destroyer advantage is usually going to be able to push home that advantage and win. And he's got a friendly destroyer up there. He's pushing into that smoke screen, trying to deal with that enemy destroyer that's actually in the process of capping the B cap point. And because he's up there capping, that means that the enemy is going to be able to secure it and start gaining more points faster than Everin's team. Not only that, but that means Everin's team is no longer gaining points faster than the enemy. And as you can see, the points very, very close. And now as the enemy manages to take out yet another friendly ship, the points shift in their favor. So the enemy team had to do a little bit of hard work. They did coordinate, they came back, and they swept down through the C cap point into B, and that's really where Everin's team was weakest. And they were able to push up in there and heavily engage his team and start picking them off one at a time. So now the enemy has the destroyer advantage with 2 destroyers. Everron's team has no destroyers, but they still have Everron in the Des Moines. He still has a radar consumable left, but he's also still somewhat full strength. And that's going to be an important factor because he's got the health to go in and engage with other cruisers. So far, Everron's managed to do 70,000 damage, and he just now secures his first kill by burning down that enemy battleship. He pops his radar here to deal with the destroyer up there in the B cap point, and does manage to help kill it, but doesn't secure the kill on it. And now he's pushing up. He's remaining bow on. The armor on the Des Moines bow is actually pretty reasonable, and assuming you can get close enough and at the right angle, you can cause some significant problems for armor-piercing shots coming in. I've watched shots from a Yamato bounce off of a Des Moines before. It's rare, but it can happen. So remember, your armor angling is very important. Now Everron stops firing, he drops off detectability here, and pushes into the B cap point just as the enemy team manages to secure the cap. So at the very least, he's keeping that points difference from expanding, and he's keeping his team just barely in the lead. Manages to sink yet another battleship by burning him down. These poor battleships just getting burned to death. Now here is a broadside on New Orleans, and Everron finally switches over to the armor piercing to take shots at him. It's a prime shot, assuming he can stop over leading him and get that shot in there. Of course, now that the cruiser is turning away, switching back to the high explosive and wrecking him through fires probably would be a better option. Of course, you can see he's returning fire with the high explosive. It makes sense there because Everron is heavily angled, so most of his shots probably gonna bounce off. Everron does switch back over to the high explosive, gonna try and set this cruiser on fire. It doesn't have a lot of HP left. Here come torpedoes. They're gonna force Everron to continue to turn hard and away. Is he gonna eat one? Yeah, it's gonna happen. Hopefully he can torpedo beats and not eat 2. He does manage to avoid the second one, which is excellent for him. He's got his heal and repair available, so he's got both of those up, and he gets that repair going. So we know there's still an enemy destroyer up in the B cap point. The question is where. Everron doesn't have his radar up available yet, but you can bet as soon as he does, he's probably going to pop it and find that bugger. Manages to take out the New Orleans there with a final well-placed high explosive shot, and starts getting himself turned around so he can angle against the battleship and the cruiser that's up in that smokescreen. Now we know that's the Kutuzov that's up in that smokescreen there. His radar is available again, so he pops it. He's looking for that destroyer. That destroyer, oddly enough, not popping up. Nope, there he is. He finally pops up, and now we can deal with this little bastard who's been causing us all sorts of issues, and of course has been preventing us from capping back the B cap point. The B cap point is our cap point, and we want to take it. So he's going to continue his absolute focus, but you notice he's not alone. The other members of his team are also heavily focused on that destroyer, and that's something that you gotta think about. When radar gets popped, if you're in a cruiser or even in a battleship and your shots are ready to go, you have to turn your attention to enemy destroyers if they are in range. Target prioritization is always an important factor. You must prioritize targets that have torpedoes that are well within your torpedo range. Everron stops firing here, drops off detectability, very important there. You can see Lastman angling there helped save him from the shots from that battleship as they ricochet off there. He's got armor piercing loaded and manages to citadel that Kutuzov for his 5th kill and his Kraken unleashed in the game, and now his team has managed to actually pull it back. But of course, as a result of firing, he's now once again fully detected and exposed and taking shots in there. But he nudges into the B cap point, stops firing, and drops off detectability, and this is going to be good for him. Now I noticed that he has one of his heals left, and I would honestly have used it right now because you've got a good chunk of damage that you can repair right now, and being able to come back with a little bit more damage is always important. You never know the next time you're going to run into a broadside cruiser, or you're going to end up broadsiding to a battleship who's going to come back and wallop on you, and that extra little bit of health now could be the difference between you going to the bottom and you staying alive long enough to make them regret their decisions. So now Everin's switching back over to the armor piercing because he's got that broadsides out. He manages to capture the B cap point, and he's going to go ahead and open fire with his main guns. Now you'll notice that he waited to open fire until he secured the B cap point. This is something I see a lot of cruisers, a lot of battleships, and a lot of destroyers don't do. They won't wait until they have secured the point, and they expose themselves and watch themselves get reset because they're detected. Now, he did get a Citadel on that enemy Zhao, who's probably thinking, yeah, maybe not the best time to sail broadside, especially not considering that there's a Hindenburg up here as well. And those 8-inch guns can also put some serious hurt onto him. The other Zhao there pushing back behind that island, so because of that, Everin's not able to continue putting rounds onto him. That other enemy Zhao still broadsiding, and it doesn't look like he's moving very fast. He's probably at full speed trying desperately to get behind that island, but because he's so exposed in the open there, that is really just driving him nuts. And of course he's taking fire from pretty much everybody on Everin's team, and they've all pushed up here into the B cap point. Friendly Hindenburg up there, who is pink for reasons unknown, is very low health, and this is actually going to be kind of interesting. If you pay attention to the chat there, they're going to ask him if he has a heal available. If he's got that heal available, if he can recover some of his HP. And this goes into the communication. Communication on the team dynamic. We want to know if you, especially if you're low health, have the ability to repair yourself, have the ability to go and hide and recover some of that health and come back and assist us, or if you're effectively going to be unable to do that, to let us know so that we can come in and provide defenses, either a smoke screen from a destroyer, additional armor protection from a battleship, or in the case of this Zhao, literally just sticking his ship broadside in front of yours so that the enemy is more than likely to punish him and not you, especially if he's got the health to deal with it. Now that Zhao came around that corner there and immediately regrets that decision as all of the ships are shooting at him, and he gets taken out by armor piercing from, I believe, the Hindenburg, but it could have been from the Zhao as well. And that's going to be it. His team manages to secure victory, winning on points with just 2 ships left, and one of them who was coming around the island on the other side. He manages 132,000 damage there, 5 kills, Confederate, and Kraken Unleashed. Look at the number of fires he set, though. Very, very excellent. And of course, given the number of fires that he managed to set, and the number of ships he managed to kill with fire, I believe it was 2 of them, he's probably not far off from having earned a Witherer. Of course, a result like this earns him top of the team for XP earned at well over 2,000 base XP, with that Hindenburg, who did survive the battle with next to no health, who also earned 2,000 base XP in that battle. Anyway, that's it for today's video, folks. If you liked the video, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment down below. If you'd like to get semi-regular channel news and updates, you can do so by liking and following me on Facebook. If you'd like to help support me in the channel, you can do so by becoming my supporter on Patreon. If you've got a replay like this one that you'd like to see featured on my YouTube channel, you can do so by sending it to my email. And if you'd like to watch me play World of Warships, among other games live, you can do so by following me on Twitch. You can find the links for all of those in the video description down below. And as always, I'll see you next time. This is Captain Rye, signing off.